The question is, what is the purpose of existence? That's a good question because existence is embarrassing, it's depressing, it's burdensome. And so we're right to ask that question. I just take up space like a bump on a log? Come on, tell me there's more than this. So the question is, what justifies existence? And what is the answer? Life. So the question is, why did God create the world? It's good to start the morning with on a light subject. Why did God create the world? If you were God, would you bother? In the beginning, there was God, and nothing else. What could be better? How perfect is that? Why mess it up? Why create a world with people who sometimes recognize him, sometimes deny him, sometimes they love him, sometimes they hate him, he gets blamed for everything. What does he need this for? He had it so perfect. But before we answer that question, I have another question. What is the secret of Jewish survival? I'm sure you know Mark Twain's article where he marvels at the existence of the Jewish people. How is it that we outlive everyone? How is it that other nations, much larger, stronger, came and made a vast noise, to quote Mark Twain, and now they are gone, lost in the backwaters of history, and the Jew is still here, showing no signs of infirmity, which in English means we're still making trouble. Not only are we still here, we're still young, we're still getting into trouble. Everyone marvels at this miracle, but nobody explains it. So what is the secret? But before we get to that, I have another question. What is depression? I don't mean chemical or hormonal. I mean emotional depression. What is it when you can't get up in the morning? When you can't answer a telephone? What is it when you feel like there's a ton of bricks sitting on your shoulders, on your head? What is that? You go to the doctor, he checks you out, he does all sorts of tests, and he tells you you're healthy. And you say, but I'm not. He says, you are. You say, but I can't function, I can't do anything. He says, it's just in your head. Did you ever hear that expression? Just in your head. It just so happens that the worst place to have a depression is in your head. A depression in the foot, not so bad. So what's with the just in the head? That's where you don't want it. So obviously we don't understand this thing, and that's why we can't cure it. So what is depression? Hold on to that question for a moment. I have another question. What is the great virtue of humility? Rosh Hashanah is coming, Yom Kippur, and we're going to say in the davening 100 times, what are we? What is a human being? Here today, gone tomorrow, a puff of smoke, a drifting cloud. We're nothing. I was nothing before I was born. I'm nothing now. I'm nothing after I die. I'm nothing. I'm nothing. So forgive me. How does that work? You want forgiveness, argue that you're good for something. How do you gain forgiveness? By being good for nothing, worthless. What's the virtue of this? And Rambam says that in all things you should be moderate, except in your humility. You should be exceedingly humble. Is this good? What does psychology have to say about this? What happened to the good self-image? And yet in Judaism, humility is so important. How come? Why? Before we get to that, I have a very simple question. What is death? What a way to start the day. What is death? What does it mean someone is alive and then he's dead? It doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be possible. Life lives. How does life die? How does salt go bad? If you can't go from dead to alive, why can you go from alive to dead? It doesn't make sense. They're mutually exclusive. What is dead can't live. What is alive can't die. And yet we accept it like taxes. Death and taxes. Taxes make sense. Everybody wants your money. But death doesn't make any sense. But let's talk about something a little less serious. Why is it that if you fall down a flight of stairs, you end up in the hospital, seriously injured and hurt? But that only happens if you fall down the stairs sober. But if you fall down the same flight of stairs when you're drunk, nothing happens. You get up and you continue walking. And the next day you wonder where that bruise came from. Why is that? Before we get to that question, I have the ultimate question. The puzzle, the mystery that has baffled all the experts. Nobody has an answer to this question. The question is, what is wrong with teenagers? What is their problem? I understand they're a little awkward, they're going through some transition, some changes, they're not sure, they're a little sensitive, but what's with the anger? What are they all angry about? They live in your house for free. You give them everything they ask, sooner or later. What have they got to be angry about? But let's talk about some Jewish subjects. What does it mean? What is the sense and the value of Shabbos? What are we not allowed to do on Shabbos? Anything creative. A simple act, like turning on the oven. Not back in the olden days, today. You turn a knob, you push a button. Nope, not allowed. Why? Because it's creative. So we're not allowed to do anything creative for 24 hours. Non-creative work, knock yourself out. So if you want to carry your king-size mattress up and down the steps in your house all day long until you are exhausted, go right ahead. That's okay. But push a button? No. That's labor. No labor on Shabbos. So what does this mean? That every week we take one day and do nothing creative. Where's the sense in that? Hang on. As long as we're talking about the Ten Commandments, why is honoring your parents one of the Ten Commandments? There are 613 commandments. Yom Kippur is not one of the 10 commandments. Rosh Hashanah is not one of the 10 commandments. Keeping kosher is not one of the 10 commandments. Going to the mikveh is not one of the 10 commandments. But honoring your parents doesn't make sense. Of all the mitzvahs, the one mitzvah you don't need inscribed in stone is honoring your parents. Because your parents will always remind you. So why is that one of the 10 commandments? Let's get practical. What exactly is a midlife crisis? What's a midlife crisis? You're doing fine. You're halfway there. What's the crisis? Shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu lizman hazeh. Everywhere in the texts, Shehecheyanu, who gave us life, v'kiyamanu, who kept us going, v'higiyanu, and brought us to this time. Why is life before being? Shouldn't being come before life? I mean, first you have to be, then you can live. Modeh ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam. God is a king who lives and exists. Don't you exist first and then live? Okay. Enough with the questions. Now, here's the answer to all of the above. You ready for this? When God created the world out of nothing, the first thing he needed to do was to invent or create existence, because nothing existed. And so he made things exist out of nothing. And then he gave those things a life. So chronologically, first you have to exist, then you can live. But what exactly is existence, and what exactly is life? If we confuse the two, we get into a lot of trouble. So here's the secret to almost everything. The definition of existence, according to Kabbalah, according to Hasidus, according to science, to exist in the physical world, you have to occupy your space. You take up space. Everything in the physical world takes up space. And that's the definition of existence. If you don't take up space, you do not exist. So everything exists by the same property, and that is occupying its space. A stone takes up space, fire takes up space, water takes up space. A thought in your mind occupies space. That's why when you're thinking, you are preoccupied. You can't have two thoughts at the same time because thoughts take up space. Obviously, they take up brain space. An emotion in the heart takes up space. That's why we say your heart is full. You have two emotions at the same time, not good. They take you away or put you on pills or something. So everything exists by the same property, takes up space. What does taking up space mean in simple language? Get out. I was here first. It's my space. That's what it means. Two books cannot share the same space on the shelf. There's another thing about existing concerning human beings, in order for us to exist, there are many conditions. I have to eat to exist. I have to drink. I have to breathe. It's a big one. I need shelter. I need safety. I need support, friends, love, just to exist. So existing is taking up space and using up resources. Many demands, many needs in order to exist. Life, on the other hand, and everything has a life, including a stone. The life of every existent being is the function that it has and the effect that it has on its surrounding. Its contribution, that's its life. What is the contribution of a stone? It gives stability. A stone house is more stable than a straw house. Fire, the life of fire, is that it gives warmth, it gives light, makes things come apart. The life of water makes things grow, keeps things cool, makes things stick together. So we all exist the same way, but we have different lives, and that is the function, the effect you have on your environment. Life makes no demands. Whatever is going on, no matter where you are, whatever the existence you have, there's something you're doing, you're having an effect, you could have an effect. Life is always available. Life makes no demands. It has no conditions. As long as you exist, you can live. So here's the problem. Sometimes my existence and my life are not in harmony. Sometimes what's good for my existence is not so good for my life. And what's good for my life is not so good for my existence. To put it in simple words, my soul is alive and barely exists. My body exists and it's barely alive. And they try to get along, body and soul, but not always. They run into conflict. Like, for example, existing means taking up space, having a place of your own. So if I had this room to myself, and if you were not here, my existence would be great. I would have this big room all to myself. So that would be good for my existence. But then you walk in, and you ruin it. You spoil it. I mean, how much existence do I get if I have to share a room with 100 people? So I hate you. Nothing personal, just being honest. On the other hand, talking to an empty room is not a life. So the fact that you're here is really good, because now I have a life. So for that, I love you. You see my problem? I don't know whether to love you more or hate you more. That solves a big problem. I never understood how you can love someone and hate them. They're good enough to love. Why do you hate? If you hate them, how did you get to love them? What does it mean you love them but you don't like them? If you can't even like them, how did you get to love him? And if you love him, what's not to like? And yet everybody says, no, it's simple. I love him, but I don't like him. As if that makes sense. But it does. I love you because you make my life worth living. And I don't like you because look what you're doing to my existence. And we're not even married. So imagine if we were married. When you get married, you basically surrender your existence. You will never have a space of your own again. That's devastating. See, that's why I think we should change the vows, because people forget. You know, when you get married, you say, let's make a life together at the expense of our existence. See, we understand that. Until the chuppah. After the chuppah, everybody's complaining. I feel a little cramped. You know, you're really, you're stifling me. I need more room. Give me some breathing space. Because already they forgot that that's the definition of marriage. Marriage means you hate it when people trespass on your space, but you found one person, something special about this one person, and you say to this one person, you know, of all the people in the world, I wouldn't mind if you ruined my existence. So the vow should actually say that so people don't forget. With this ring, you are entitled to ruin my existence according to the laws of Moshe and Israel. Why not say it up front? So you see, existence and life can sometimes be in conflict. So what do? I think it's rather obvious. If one of the two has to go, it should be the existence. Now let's get to the questions. What is the secret of Jewish survival? Because we know the difference between existing and living. The other nations, great in number and power and in wealth, what did they want? Those who made the vast noise. All they wanted was to exist, to guarantee their continued existence, to solidify their existence so that the sun would never set on their empire. And they did everything they could. They were totally devoted to their own existence. And they don't exist. But we had a different history. Before we came into Israel for the first time, Moshe said to us, let me tell you exactly what to look forward to. You're going to get comfortable, you're going to settle down, and then you're going to get thrown out. So don't get too comfortable. You're going to get thrown out, scattered to the four corners of the heavens, diminished to a fraction of your size, living in other people's countries where you are not welcome and you will suffer, and, you know, the whole description of. And we said, so what exactly is the point? And Moshe said, the point is, you're not going to have a great existence. Give it up. You be busy living. And existence, it's not for you. It's not Jewish. And that's our history. When our existence is down to a hair, we are alive. The worse our existence becomes, the more alive we become. In the worst times of our history, we produced the greatest tzaddikim and the greatest scholars and the greatest social services. We were busy being alive. And it's an interesting thing, when you're busy being alive, your existence kind of takes care of itself. Or should we say God takes care of it? A doctor in the time of a plague, when everybody else is getting sick, the doctor doesn't get sick. Why? What is it about doctors? Not only doesn't he get sick, he doesn't get tired. He forgets to eat, and that's okay. He forgets to sleep, to even sit down. He's Superman. He's so alive. He is so needed. His function, his contribution is so clear. It's so urgent that his existence takes care of itself. A mother taking care of a child, same thing. When you're alive, your existence can be minimal, and it doesn't bother you. The doctor during the plague is immune, but after the plague, not so good. Then it catches up with him. So, wherever there's a conflict between living and existing, of course, give up the existence. What do you need it for? Taking up space? That's something to be proud of? I take up space better than anyone else. Yeah, watch me take up space. You'll be impressed. It's embarrassing, actually. It's like children. I was here first, don't touch me. And using up, give me this, give me that, I need. It's embarrassing. So if you have to give up life or existence, give up the existence. Let somebody else be depressed. That's the definition of depression. Now I understand. Depression means I exist, and to exist is a little depressing because it's embarrassing. If I make a big deal about my existence, if I put a lot of effort into my existence, if I fight to increase my existence, it gets heavier. Eventually, my existence is so heavy, I can't get out of bed. I'm crushed by my own existence. What is the solution? Get a life. Come alive. Stop worrying about your existence. Worry about somebody else's existence, and you get life. This is why, for 5,000 years, people have been asking the same question. 5,000 years. The question, why are we here? What is the purpose of life? It's a desperate question, not an idle question. Why are we here? And you would expect that after 5,000 years we would get comfortable. We've been here for a while. Get used to it. We keep asking the question, why are we here? Have we ever been anywhere else? Would you like to go someplace else? You know of any other place? No. So settle down. We're here. We've always been here. We're not going anyplace else. What is your problem? And it's amazing how desperate this question is. Many years ago when I was reckless, a woman in our program, the Beis Chana program, a woman came over to me. No, she stood right next to me, nose to nose, and she said, "I'm going to kill myself." I said, "Why?" Give me one good reason. She said, "Because nothing means anything. It's all meaningless. It's all nothing. There's no importance, there's no significance, nothing. It's all empty, meaningless." So naively, I said, "Really? Everything is meaningless, so why do you have to bother killing yourself? Just sit quietly, you'll die eventually." It's all meaningless. What's your urgency? They say about Jewish laziness. In Yiddish, there's this joke about a guy who says, "I've had it with this life, I'm going to kill myself. Bring me a lake. Bring me a river, I'll jump in. But if I have to go to the river, nah." Or the guy who comes back, he said, "I'm going to drown myself," and he comes back. They say, "What happened?" "The water's cold." So why is it, if you think that there's no meaning, that everything is meaningless, why do you have to kill yourself? Just sit and smile. Because, what, me worry? No, can't take it. The question, understood correctly, why are we here, means What is the justification for my existence? When you get confused and you say, what is the purpose of life? Now you're in trouble. Because you're asked the wrong question. You'll never get a good answer. The question is, what is the purpose of existence? That's a good question because existence is embarrassing, it's depressing, it's burdensome. And so we're right to ask that question. I just take up space like a bump on a log? Come on, tell me there's more than this. So the question is, what justifies existence? And what is the answer? Life. If you're alive, if you're making a contribution, if you're making a difference, then your existence is justified. So what is humility? We are not suggesting that a moment of life is meaningless. That would go against the Torah, against the Mishnah, against everything Jewish. A moment of life is of infinite value. When we talk about humility, we're talking about our existence. Existence is meaningless. Humble it. But never life. So, if you think every song is about you, your existence has gotten out of hand. You have to occupy every song. You have to occupy everyone's thoughts. At a football game, when the players go into a huddle, they must be talking about you. I mean, what else? Then your existence has gotten out of hand. Humble it. And why should you humble it? Because it deserves to be humbled. It's meaningless, embarrassing, depressing, and needs justification. But we never humble life. See, now we can understand what's the problem with the teenagers. Every teenager is angry, and if you ask them, they'll all tell you the same thing, and it doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. In every language, they say the same thing. Why am I angry? Because my mother ruined my whole life. You've heard this, huh? She ruined my whole life. How could she not be angry? See, again, the same terrible mistake. Mothers don't ruin your life. Mothers destroy your existence. There's a difference. Mothers don't ruin your life for a number of reasons. First of all, why would a mother do that? Secondly, how can a mother ruin a teenager's life when teenagers have no life? See, all they have is an existence, and it's not even theirs. Teenagers say, how do you like my shoes? Your shoes? How do you like my room? Your room? What's yours? You never had a job. How can it be yours? So I heard my children arguing once when they were 6 or 7 years old. They're screaming and fighting in the bedroom, and I walk in, and they're screaming, it's my bed, and the other one says, it's my bed. Parents don't want justice. Parents want quiet. So I said very maturely, excuse me, it's my bed. And if you're quiet, I'll let one of you sleep in it. How did it become their bed, their room, their clothes, their watch, their toys, their bling? None of it is theirs. But they make this mistake. They don't distinguish between life and existence. Well, another reason your mother can't ruin your life is because life can't be ruined. Life is an opportunity. How can you ruin opportunity? Whatever your mother is doing gives you an opportunity. I was talking to this very angry, rebellious teenage girl, And she tells me that her mother is crazy and her mother is terrible and her mother is immoral and her mother, and she's not going to let her mother ruin her life. And that's why she moved out, and she's doing all sorts of things her mother would not approve of. So when she gives me this list of complaints about her mother, I said, you know, you're right. Don't let your mother ruin your life. Really, don't let her do it. No matter what she says and no matter what she does, you treat her like a mother whether she likes it or not. She liked the idea. You don't have to run to California. Stay home and rebel. Treat your mother like a mother no matter what she does. Don't let her ruin your life. This explains why honoring your parents is one of the 10 Commandments. It's an amazing thing. If you feed your own existence, you've got nothing to be proud of. But if you take care of someone else's existence, you're a tzaddik. You make $1, it's good for your existence. But if you give the $1 to someone else and make their existence easier, now you're alive. Which is amazing. My existence to me is meaningless. Your existence to me is sacred. That's Torah. That's Judaism. So if I give $1 to tzedakah, I am alive. If I use the $1 for food, for whatever, I'm just existing. How do you honor your parents? What does it mean to honor parents? It means to do menial tasks that they would otherwise have to do. So you carry their bag, you get up and bring the food to the table, you help them on with their coat. That's how you honor. Which means give up a little of your existence, of your comfort, to make their existence a little easier. So what does it say in the 10 Commandments? Honor your father and mother so that you will live. Now you've got a life. And that's what Shabbos means. God tells us 6 days of the week, do what is necessary to make your existence better. If it's broken, fix it. If it's raw, cook it. If it's torn, sew it. Make your existence better. But 1 day out of 7, leave your existence alone. Stop. Focus on life. After all, you're Jewish. And the secret to your existence is that you focus on life. We practice that once a week. And then during the week, try to bring a little life into your existence as well. So that when you do eat, and you do drink, and you do buy clothes, and go to work, and make money, all for your existence, I don't know why it's called making a living. You're really making an existence. But while you're doing that, do it l'shem shamayim. Do it with a heavenly purpose, to serve Him. If you're serving Him as you go about your existence, you're bringing life to your existence. The difference between body and soul. Even when you feed your body, bring a little bit of your neshama to it. Even when you're taking care of yourself, see to it that you're also serving someone else. You know, the Rebbe would give out dollars every Sunday. And when he was asked what the point of it was, the Rebbe said, whenever 2 people get together, they should see to it that a third person benefits from their meeting. That's like saying, whatever you do for your own existence, make sure there's some life to it. Never exist without life. This is what death means. Life does not die. That's an oxymoron. Life lives. That's all it knows how to do. Death means your existence ended. You no longer take up space. You don't need to eat. You don't need to drink. Existence ends. Life does not end. It can't. Life lives. In fact, when the existence is over, you don't have to share the energy. You don't have to divide it between living and existing. You're completely alive. Only not here. To be here, you have to exist. In heaven, it's pure life. All you do is live. All you do is think about your relatives, your effect on the world, what you left, your legacy, and you look forward to the coming of Mashiach so that you can come back into a body and exist again. So what didn't we answer yet? Why did God create the world? To understand that, we have to understand another phenomenon. Why is it that before we take a drink, a strong drink, we say l'chaim, to life? There's that beautiful, amazing song in Fiddler on the Roof. And whoever wrote those words was a genius. Remember the words to that song, l'chaim? God wants us to be happy even while our hearts lay panting on the floor. That's beautiful. And it's so true. God wants us to be happy even when our hearts lay panting on the floor, which means even when my existence is miserable, I have reason to be happy. And then the other line, here's to good fortune when it comes. And if good fortune never comes, here's to whatever comes. That is so Jewish. That's so perfect. L'chaim, to whatever comes, meaning to whatever existence we have, our response is to life. L'chaim. Why when we take a drink? L'chaim is like a little prayer. L'chaim. I want to live. I don't want to die. Why do we say that before we take a drink? It's not that dangerous. And interestingly, when we do dangerous things, we don't say l'chaim. Bungee jumping? You ever hear anybody say l'chaim before he jumped off? Getting on a plane? You should say l'chaim. Going on a cruise ship? There are dangerous things we do, and we don't say l'chaim. But before we take a drink, we say l'chaim. We have a little prayer for life. Why is that? And the question is really interesting because of all people in the world, we're the last ones to worry about our drink. There's this frum comedian. When he became observant, he found out some very interesting things. One of the things he found out was that after you go to the bathroom, there's a special prayer. When you come out of the bathroom, you say a prayer about the marvels of the body, the system, how it works, and how if something went wrong, we could die. He says only Orthodox Jews can turn a visit to the bathroom into a near-death experience. We say l'chaim before taking a drink as if it's a near-death experience. And of all people, we're the last ones to do that. You know, when people make a toast, non-Jews, there's a tradition. When you make a toast, You raise your cup and you touch it to the other person's cup. You clink the glasses. That tradition, in case you're curious, goes back to a time when people would poison each other by putting poison into their strong drink. And so if you were invited to somebody's house and they offered you a drink, you don't drink it. You say, no, I'll drink what you have. You drink this. And then you would exchange glasses to prove that it was safe. When they stopped poisoning each other, it wasn't necessary to exchange glasses, so they just move glasses towards each other but don't actually exchange them. That's where that very non-Jewish custom comes from. We never had that problem because when a Jew needs to kill another Jew, he'll find some other way to do it. No Jew will ruin a good schnapps. So our drinks were always safe. And yet, we're the ones who say, l'chaim. How do you figure? What happens when a person is drunk? You may have heard, or maybe you read somewhere. When a person is drunk, they say, you lower your inhibitions, which doesn't sound very nice. And it's too vague. You got to be more specific. What inhibitions? What happens when you're drunk is your spatial inhibitions are relaxed, which means you don't take up space. Your existence relaxes. And that's how you know that someone is drunk if he's still standing up. How do you know he's drunk? Because when he's sober and he wants to talk to you, he stands around here. When he's drunk and he wants to talk to you, he stands here. So you back up. He follows you. Now you know he's drunk. Because space has lost meaning. Drunk people don't take up space. This is a natural fact. So when you buy a sofa, and the salesman says, this sofa will seat 4 comfortably, that's not enough information. It'll seat 4 sober people comfortably, but it will also seat 9 drunk people comfortably, because drunk people don't take up space. So what happens when you drink? Your existence relaxes. That's why you should never drink when you're not happy. When you're not alive and all you have is existence, don't lose that. Don't soften your existence when that's all you have. But on Purim, when you're very happy, or at a wedding when you're very happy, or Simchas Torah when you're very happy, it's okay, relax your existence. You're so alive, it'll take care of it. So why do we say l'chaim? Before you take a drink and relax your existence, you explain it and justify it by saying, this is for life, so my existence can relax. So to life doesn't mean I don't want to die. That's not an option. To life means I choose life over existence. Now, why do you need to know any of this? Here's why. Everything changes. Everything changes when we get this one distinction into our heads. Existence does not justify itself. The more you exist, the more justification you need. Who gets depressed? People in third world countries or affluent people? People in third world countries don't get depressed. They're too busy. When people are affluent, when your existence has been pretty much made, you made it, you got there, your existence is good, now you get depressed. Because when you have everything, the question of so what attacks you. And if you don't ask it, your children will ask it. Okay, so what? So now we have everything, now what? And you become depressed. And that's what midlife crisis is all about. Midlife crisis basically means when you reach an age and you realize my existence, this is pretty much it. If I haven't made my million by now, I'm from an old generation. People who wanted to be millionaires. If I haven't made my billion by now, then this is pretty much my life. And then you go into crisis. When your existence stops challenging you, then you realize you need a life. So, the existence needs justification. The more you exist, the more justification you need. If you had everything, you would be in trouble. Now, this comedian says, you can't have everything. You know why? Where would you put it? But that's the least of your problems. If you had everything, then you would have to focus on life. And you would have to ask, what am I needed for? Because I have everything I need. And that's why wealthy people either go insane or give a lot of charity. They've got to get a life. Or they'll go into depression. What is marriage? A man comes to a woman and says, please marry me. You have to marry me. I need you. Because without you, I can't live. Isn't that romantic? Should the woman marry him? Or should she find him a good therapist? You can't live without me? Get help. Why would you marry someone who can't live without you? So, if a man proposes by saying, please marry me, I can't live without you, you run away. On the other hand, if a man says, please marry me, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I can live without you. The woman's response would be, that's true. Leb Gesundheit. Why should I marry you? So what should a man say? A man should say, please marry me. I can exist without you, but that wouldn't be a life. Somebody says that to you, marry him. Marriage means I can exist. I do exist. I have existed without you. But what is existence without life? And if I can't serve you and take care of you and be there for you, then my existence is meaningless. And if my existence is big, if I have everything, then I need to marry you even more, because I need to justify all that existence. So when a person has everything, but not children, there's that painful question. So what is all this for? So let me ask you a real philosophical question. If a person has everything, everything. You say, this person, perfect. He's perfect. They just don't have children. How do we understand this philosophically? Is it that he turns out he's not so perfect? He's only 99% perfect because he doesn't have children. He has almost everything, but not everything. Or do we say, no, the man has everything. He is perfect. He just doesn't know what to do with all that perfect. Which one is it? If you ask the person, he will tell you. Not having children or not having someone to share this with leaves me feeling like I have nothing. I don't feel 99% fulfilled. Nothing. Meaningless. So it's true. A person who has everything is perfect. Not 99%. Perfect. And because he's perfect, he so desperately needs to share it with someone, to give it to someone, to make a difference. Because the better your existence is, the more you need life. Understand why God created the world. Wasn't he perfect to begin with? Wasn't he everywhere and it was all his and he was the only thing? It was perfect. Why would he bother creating a world when he had it so perfect? This is the relevant answer. A perfect God is desperate for a purpose and a relationship. It's because he's perfect that he created the world. And if you were perfect, you would do that too. Because when you're perfect and you're infinite and you have everything and you know everything, what do you do with that? What good is that? Now you need a life. So as we come into Rosh Hashanah, you have to go to shul. You have to hear the shofar. You have to make good year resolutions. Why? So that next year will be a good year. Is that a threat? I'm sure you know at least one person who does not go to shul, does not hear the shofar, and he has a good year. Maybe better than yours. So what gives? On Yom Kippur, you must come to shul and ask for forgiveness because, the new year is coming and who knows what's going to happen. You better get forgiveness for your sins or else what? How about all those people who never show up and have a great year? You can have a great year. You will have a great year. God will give you everything you need. And your existence will be fine. What about life? Is this a relationship you have with God, or is he just an ATM? A generous ATM. He will give you a good year. He will give you a good existence. He will give you plenty of existence, enough existence. What will you do with it? That's what Rosh Hashanah is for. We come to God on Rosh Hashanah and we say, everybody is going to get a good year. I don't want a handout. I want a relationship. I want to know that whatever comes to me next year will be because I asked for it, because we spoke about it, because I made a resolution, because I will turn it into life. You give me existence, I'll turn it into life. You give me $1 and I'll do a mitzvah with it. You give me a body, I'll turn it into a soul. You take care of what I need, I'll take care of what you need. So here's the punchline. Existence means the things I need. Life means, what do you need? What am I needed for? So when I stop a guy in the street and I say, would you like to put on tefillin? And he says, thanks, I don't need that. I say, great, let's put them on. He says, but I don't need that. Exactly. If you needed it, it would just be more of your existence. There are people who need religion. I don't envy them. Just more existence. There are people who desperately need religion because otherwise they won't get to heaven and have 70 whatever. That's all existence. That's not life. Life means I don't need this, but if you do, then I will do it for you. So a mitzvah, any mitzvah, I don't need. We're not good enough at doing things we don't need. We got to get better at that. When somebody else needs and we don't need, that's the mitzvah. When God needs to hear from us and we don't feel any need to communicate, we're familiar with that. You got to call your mother. I know you don't need it. She needs it. Husbands have to say, I love you to their wives. We don't need it. It doesn't work for men. It works for women. So should a man say, I love you or not? What are we teaching our children? In a secular world, children don't hear about life. All they hear about is existence. Be careful when you cross the street. Don't go with strangers. Brush your teeth. What do we say about life? We say, don't lie. Don't ever lie. That sounds like an ideal. But then we ruin it. Don't lie, because then I won't trust you even when you're telling me the truth, and your existence will be miserable. Share your toys and your candy with your friend. That sounds nice. That's a value in life. But then we ruin it. Share your toys with your friend, because then he'll share with you, and he has much nicer toys. So here's the punchline. We say l'chaim because we have a talent that we have perfected over the years. We're good at things we don't need. We're great at doing things we don't need. If he needs it, if the community needs it, if my wife needs it, if my children need it, if my fellow Jew needs it, that's what I'm here for. What I don't need. That's l'chaim. So do you understand now those famous words when we want to describe the Jewish people, the essence, the core, what makes us special, different, and unique? Those few words say it all. Am Yisrael, l'chaim.
Partner with Rabbi Friedman. Visit itsgoodtoknow.org/support.